You guys send me plenty of the worst guitar advice you've ever received. And honestly, some of these tips are so bad. I mean, that bad that they're basically guaranteeing you'll stay stuck forever. Because interestingly, advice that sounds the most reasonable out of them all is often the most dangerous one. Advice like, just feel it. Theory will kill your creativity. Or don't worry about exercises, just learn songs. Because after having some experience of teaching over 1,000 students inside of modern guitar course, I thought to give you my personal insight on some of these so you know what to look out for. Starting with the first one, the feel-good trap. Ever been told just feel it when you're struggling with soloing or improvising? This sounds like perfect advice at first. After all, music is about emotion, expression and connecting with the song, right? And you want that. But here's the fact, if you can't physically execute the notes cleanly, no amount of feeling it will magically make the solo work, especially if you're improvising and you're already self-conscious about making mistakes. Feeling it becomes impossible. Your brain is too busy worrying about hitting wrong notes or sounding bad. You can't feel anything except anxiety. This creates a vicious cycle. The more you try to just feel it, the more aware you become of your limitations and all the wrong notes you're playing. Then you freeze up because you're thinking about it too much, which is like trying to fall asleep by constantly focusing on falling asleep, right? But even with professional players that I had a chance to interact with, they don't rely on raw feeling alone. What allows them to let go and just feel it on stage is hours and hours of rehearsed songs, licks, scales and exercises. They've trained their hands, internalized the scales and drilled the mechanics so deeply that when the moment comes, their technique doesn't hold them back. That's when they can finally let the emotions flow freely. But for normal players who are not at that level yet, this belief that emotions alone will carry you through those tricky parts is absolutely pointless, as often it leads to thinking that you might not be talented enough, because if you would be, you'd be able to just feeling it when playing, right? It's the same thing as trying to have a deep conversation in foreign language you barely speak. No matter how much you're trying to feel it, you won't be able to express anything meaningful if you're stuck translating basic words in your head. Alright, so let's wrap this point up before we move on to the next one. No amount of feeling it will fix sloppy technique or lack of theory knowledge. Once scales, bends and licks are automatic, it will free up your brain so the real feeling can finally flow. Getting to this state can take anywhere from few months to years of consistent drills until certain parts and moves become absolutely ingrained in your fingers. So make sure to practice scales, exercises, bends, licks until they become your second nature. And then when you're improvising, this technical foundation will allow you to just feel it. Another common advice is, don't worry about practicing, you just learn more songs. This advice sounds musical and practical at first. After all, songs are why we play the guitar, right? But the limitation nobody tells you about this is that challenging techniques get watered down and are practiced only when they come up in the song. You learn just enough of the technique to get through that one part of that one song. It's like learning to throw a ball only during basketball games, instead of practicing your throwing motion separately. But we know the reality is different, even with, I don't know, football players. They love playing football, but 80% of their time they spend drilling the technique, passing, shooting, sprinting, and only 20% of the time they actually play the game itself. Otherwise, if you learn technique just within the song context, certain sweep or legato run, very often it won't get translated into another song, which makes players feel frustrated, as their technique works perfectly in one song but completely fails in another one. This inconsistency across different playing contexts happen as the fundamental mechanics were never isolated. Songs teach you technique, mixed with timing, melody and rhythm at all happening at once. Your brain can't just focus on one mechanical movement when it's juggling all those other elements as well. That's why targeted exercises of speed runs, sweeps, hammer-ons, vibratos build transferable skills that help you to smash through any song you come across. It's like focusing on sprints, so no matter what sports you will do, you'll always be fast. So let's wrap it up before moving on to the theory trap. Playing just songs alone won't expose weaknesses and don't build transferable skills. Thanks to targeted drills, your technique will work across any song, not just one. Luckily, just a few weeks of consistent focus drills can make a technique feel natural instead of situational. So keep songs for fun, but dedicate part of your practice to isolated exercises that build mechanics you can use everywhere. And as mentioned, the next advice is that by learning theory, you're going to limit your creativity. Oh boy, have I heard this one before. What if theory doesn't kill your creativity, but instead it fuels it? Without it, you're trapped in the same old licks you've been playing for years. With theory, well, you unlock the fretboard, you understand why notes work together, so you can finally start playing past those memorized tabs and as a result play whatever you hear in your head. I believe that most of people deep down will agree that theory is an incredible tool, but most likely due to an unnecessarily overcomplicated approach they've experienced in the past, people just give up and protect themselves by saying, "I'm rock and metal guy," and theory is just a waste of time. Because I see it with students of modern guitar course that before joining us were terrified of learning theory, but in just few weeks it all starts clicking and it makes them excited as so many new doors starts opening up for them. Because theory avoiders become prisoners of their own muscle memory very quickly. They know that one pentatonic box on the 5th fret, so they use it for every single solo regardless of what key the song is in. Or find a lick that sounds cool, but when the backing track changes keys, they're lost as they've memorized the frets without understanding why those notes work together. It's like memorizing a few phrases in a foreign language, but with no idea what they actually mean or when to use them. So in a nutshell, avoiding music theory will keep you memorizing disconnected patterns instead of understanding the relationships between them. When you understand how notes relate to each other, every position of the neck becomes connected. Theory gives you the roadmap so you can improvise, write and jam with confidence. For the most basic theory, few weeks is needed. For anything a bit more advanced, anywhere between 3 to 6 months, depending on how quickly you learn. So if you want to start today, focus on the essentials such as intervals, arpeggios, chords, modes and apply them directly to the music you love. Moving on to the next very often mentioned advice, and that is speed comes with time. You can hear things such as, "Don't worry about speed, it'll come naturally with time." Spoiler alert, it won't. If you repeat sloppy movements for years, you'll just hardwire bad habits. It's like saying, "Hey, don't worry about sprinting, alright? Just keep on walking and sprinting will come naturally with time." That's why speed is a skill you train and develop, okay? So without the right method, you'll always hit a wall. You might get to 80 or 90% of the tempo, but never the last 10%. That's why this speed comes with time kind of advice is actually permission to stay comfortable and avoid the discomfort of speed training. It's a way of feeling good about not pushing the limits. It's easier to tell yourself you're being smart and patient while you're actually avoiding the consistent work that speed requires. And that's unfortunately why so often we hear from players who want to join modern guitar course that they've been stuck with their speed for years and years. And unfortunately, over that time, your muscle memory will lock into that comfortable movement and it will become even harder trying to reach that desired speed. So implementing short bursts of intentionally fast, sloppy playing will rewire your mechanics. You need to start practicing way too fast than normal on purpose, even if it sounds awful at first. This trains your hands to develop the fast picking motion and fretting coordination needed for real speed. Remember that same as sprinting requires absolutely different muscle groups than walking, same for guitar speed. If you want to play fast, you've got to do it by playing fast. So to wrap this advice up, speed isn't something you wait for. It requires specific training. Without practicing the actual movements of fast playing, time alone achieves nothing. Being able to play fast expands your ceiling. You'll be able to keep up with the riffs and solos you love, and your hands will feel free instead of stuck. With consistent speed burst training, many players see insane breakthroughs in just 30 days. So instead of waiting for the speed to come, go to the speed instead. I've got plenty of videos on my channel that teach you exactly how to shred. And moving to the last and for me the worst advice out of them all, there is no need for a practice routine. Oh boy, what if the reason you feel stuck isn't your technique or talent or the guitar, but the fact that you're practicing without any actual plan? Just practice more sounds like solid advice at first. After all, everyone knows practice makes perfect, right? Put in the hours and results will follow. But here is the thing that nobody talks about. Practice without structure is like going to the gym and randomly lifting weights for different muscle groups. You might feel tired and accomplished after each session, but you're not building strength systematically. And as you're not seeing any results, you start putting more hours in. Well, that doesn't make much sense. That's why 20 minutes of structured practice will always be 2 hours of mindless noodling. It's something that intermediate players fall into very often. They might know enough technique to feel busy, but lack the framework to continue improving systematically. You can practice for hours, but if your playing sounds the same as it did months ago or years ago, it's more likely as you're not targeting specific weaknesses. Instead of identifying that your finger independence or legato game is holding you back, you practice whatever feels interesting on that day. Routineless practice wastes time on things you already know while avoiding the challenging areas that need work. You unconsciously gravitate toward your comfort zone, toward things that already feel solid. It's like building a house by making the strong walls stronger while ignoring the foundation cracks. The whole structure stays unstable because you're not addressing the actual problems. That's why I've put together for you a free training where you'll learn how to put an efficient practice routine together. Even if 20 minutes a day is all that you've got. You will learn what to focus on based on your goals, how to distribute your time, and most importantly, how to measure your progress so you know if what you're doing is actually working. And to recap this last advice, without structure you'll practice for years and sound exactly the same, stuck in your comfort zone instead of improving. A structured routine targets weaknesses which, thanks to the effort you put in, you actually get the results you want. Even after weeks of focused, goal-driven practice, you'll experience noticeable results compared to months of unstructured noodling. So stop practicing more and start practicing smarter. Click the link in the description and build a plan so you can use your limited time to work on the areas that actually move the needle for you in your playing. And that's it, some of the worst pieces of guitar advice that could be killing your progress. Now you know why each mistake matters, how fixing them improves your playing, how long it really takes to see results, and what the way forward looks like. Once you stop following these advices, your progress should skyrocket, same as it always did with students inside of Modern Guitar Course. Thank you so much for being here, for keeping the guitar alive. If you've enjoyed this video and most importantly you've learned something, then let me know by hitting the like button, and I will see you in the next video.